A piece of paper can hold a house, hold retirement savings, hold peace of mind. But the truth is different. No contract can erase the heaviness of signing your name. No clause guarantees you won't lose the quiet years you worked so hard to build. A prenup might protect a bank account, but it can't protect the man sitting across from a lawyer, sweaty palms, wondering, this time, what else might I lose? And that's what more and more men over 45 in America are beginning to realize. This isn't a story about the law. This is a story about trust. And why, even with a piece of paper in hand, they never truly feel safe. After 45, many American men aren't rushing into marriage like before. Some have been through costly breakups. Some have watched their friends lose more than they ever imagined. And some just find independent life easier to breathe in. Prenups contracts praised as shields, marketed as the answer to every fear, protecting the house, the account, the legacy a man built. But the truth is, sitting in that law office, pen in hand, looking into the eyes of the woman beside them, very few feel any sense of peace. Because a prenup only protects numbers on paper, it can't guard against sleepless nights. It can't stop the unease of imagining having to share your life again. And it definitely can't protect against the quiet questions in your mind. Is this love real? Do I still have the strength to start over? This isn't just about the law. It's about the male psyche, about fears rarely spoken, about experiences so human, no matter how detailed a contract is, it can't reach them. And that's the real truth. A prenup can guard assets, but it can't guard a man's peace. He once thought, signing a contract would end the worries, that a paper could keep the condo he bought after decades of work, safeguard the retirement fund, keep him from starting over with nothing. But when that law office door closed behind him, he realized a different truth. The thing he feared losing most was never money. It was the peace inside. Money he could earn again. A contract could protect a balance. But what protects the nights he stares at the ceiling, heart racing not from love, but from fear? What shields the mornings where coffee has no taste, drowned out by the echo of unresolved arguments? Prenups might keep the assets, but they don't stop the long calls with lawyers. They don't erase tense emails, exhausting back and forths, or court hearings where every glance cuts deep. They can't ease the mental fatigue of facing not a stranger, but the one you once called your partner. He might walk out of court with the house still in his name, but also with dark circles under his eyes, heavy shoulders, and a mind with no space left for peace. And the irony is, in these stories, no one remembers what money he kept, only what he quietly lost: sleep, health, trust. A friend of his, in his 60s, signed a prenup right before the wedding, said he felt safe. But when things fell apart, he admitted the contract only kept the house. It didn't keep the years he spent trying to recover after each trial. It didn't fill the silence in that house, not from missing furniture, but from missing peace of mind. Men over 45 have seen too much. They no longer believe legal protection equals emotional safety. They've learned, bitterly, that peace matters more than money. A piece of paper might protect assets, but no paper protects a weary soul. And as that truth becomes clearer, they begin to choose differently. Not more contracts, but more space. Not more guarantees, but more boundaries to protect themselves. A prenup might hold the house, might guard the retirement fund, but it doesn't touch the real reason men lose sleep after 45. It's not the money, it's the legacy. It's the kids. It's the feeling of being pushed out of the very family they helped build. You can sign a contract to split assets cleanly, but when you enter a courtroom where they decide who stays with the children, that contract means nothing. The law may be fair on paper, but in reality, too many men walk out with both hands still full, yet arms completely empty. They keep their wealth, but lose the morning call of Dad. And no prenup clause can fill that gap. A friend once told me he was in his 50s, believed a contract would simplify everything, but when the marriage ended, he sat in a small room, listening to lawyers debate visitation days. He kept the apartment, but only got 4 weekends a month with the child he raised day by day. He said that apartment felt like an empty shell, because the laughter was gone. Men aren't afraid of losing money. They fear losing continuity, losing the chance to teach their son how to fix an old car, losing the moment of walking their daughter to school on her first day. Those memories aren't written into any contract, and once lost, no paper brings them back. The deepest pain isn't about which side the law stands on. It's walking out of court and realizing you're just a visitor in your child's life. A visitor who needs to schedule, a visitor who needs permission. And that's the real fear. Not greed, but a severed legacy. A prenup might protect your wallet, but it won't protect your bloodline. It won't safeguard those invisible bonds, the ones men value more than anything. And that's why many middle-aged American men now stand outside of marriage, not because they're cold, but because they won't gamble again with the one thing they can't replace: family. Some things aren't in a contract. They can't be measured in numbers, can't be captured in words, can't be signed away. You can split the assets, keep the house, agree on every clause before starting again. But there's one thing you can't control: memories. Not all pain comes from financial loss. Many wounds stem from the quiet distance built over years, from eyes that no longer look at each other the same, from conversations that fade into deliberate silence, from touches that become duties no longer connection. He didn't leave his marriage from lack of trying. He left because he couldn't bear being next to someone, yet feeling alone. And after that, he became cautious with every new relationship. Not because he feared love, but because he feared walking again through each day buried in silence. A silence unspoken, but heavy. A woman once asked him, "Don't you have a prenup? What's there to worry about?" He just smiled, because he knew paperwork can protect wealth, but no one signs a contract to prevent heartbreak. The old scars remain. They don't hurt every day, but they make him more careful, not out of selfishness, not from distrust, but because he knows to step in again without certainty might mean losing himself once more, and that's something no contract can stop. It can't teach a broken heart how to trust again. He once believed if anything was lost, it'd just be money, and money can be regained. A few years of effort, a few right decisions, and the numbers rise again. But time that's past, that's gone, and no contract warns you of that. There's a man in his 50s who once drove cross-country all summer, not to escape but to rediscover himself. Each stop wasn't counted in gas gallons, but in the time he'd wasted on endless arguments, on family vacations that were only routine, on years of living with someone no longer a companion. He once signed a prenup, kept everything except time. No one asked for his watch, but no one gave back the mornings he woke up lost. No one billed him for 3 moves, but no one calculated the price of sitting in a backyard, watching his child grow up in short weekends. One man lost all his money, but came back stronger. Another lost 10 years in the wrong relationship and never truly came back. Prenups protect money, but they can't shield the health eroded by anxiety, can't defend the youth that's faded, can't preserve the smallest things that we later regret most: the ease of living, the peace of sleeping, and the sense of being on the right path. That's why more men today don't just count assets, they count time, because they know money can be regained, but lost years are lost forever. He once thought love was enough, but over time, he realized he needed more than love. He needed to act, to predict, to keep his tone always soft, to tiptoe around silences in the kitchen, to choose every word when she was too quiet. Some days, he wanted to say just one sentence, then be quiet, but ended up saying 3 more, just to keep the peace. Not because he was wrong, but because he was tired of fighting in his own home. He once tried not to heal, but to avoid breaking. There's a big difference, and that difference drained him. Prenups can't protect from that exhaustion. They don't include clauses for emotional fatigue. They don't mention fake smiles, or the times he said, "It's fine," when his heart was full of hurt. A friend once said while arranging golf clubs, "You know what's most exhausting? Not losing money, but waking up each day feeling like you're fading." And he knew exactly what that meant. He didn't fear sharing assets. He just feared losing himself again. Because love doesn't always need explanation, but the wrong relationship turns a man into someone constantly trying to please. And at a certain age, a wise man chooses differently. He doesn't find peace by pushing harder. He finds it by no longer pretending. He once lived by others' rhythms, woke up to alarms, drove where he was expected, answered questions he didn't want to, explained feelings he no longer had, until one day he left the city, took little, just an RV, a few books, walking shoes, and a small gas stove. Schedule? None, as long as the road ahead was open, and the wind still blew through the passenger window. He didn't leave to run. He left to return, and on those endless roads through Arizona, New Mexico, into Colorado, he realized something simple but profound. Freedom isn't about being unbound. It's about choosing what's worth being bound to. No one called at midnight demanding explanations. No one got upset over forgotten anniversaries. No one asked him to fix what he wasn't sure was broken. Just him and the steady hum of the engine. Just mornings and coffee, not made in a rush. A prenup didn't stop him from hitting the road, but it didn't protect the freedom he just reclaimed either. Because once a man has lost himself in a life where he always had to show up right, always had to respond just so, then silence, the kind people take for granted, becomes a treasure. Now, he doesn't need anyone's approval to feel he's living right. He doesn't need a paper to keep that peace. Because what he's guarding isn't money. It's the way of life he spent half a lifetime rediscovering. A man who's lost his freedom doesn't easily give it up again. So even if someone says, "You have a prenup, you're good to go," he'll still smile, then quietly drive off into a direction no one knows. Prenups aren't wrong. They're just not enough. They might hold what you've built, but they won't hold you if being with someone means losing yourself. Because men's real fear after 45 isn't just losing assets. The real fear lies elsewhere, losing themselves in relationships that wear down self-worth, losing precious years on something their heart no longer believes in, losing peace, the kind they spent their youth fighting to reclaim. And then they realize, no paper can protect that. No lawyer can guarantee a life without cracks. No signature can promise they'll be loved with respect, not conditions. So the real question isn't, do you have a prenup? It's, are you at peace? If you've ever felt that fear, even once, just leave a line. To me, peace matters more than any contract. Thank you for watching this far. If this video touched you, don't forget to share it with others and subscribe to the channel to get the next video. See you soon.